house. So, for a great republic, let us share our experiences, let's share our challenges, and I know we can learn from each other. May God bless you abundantly as you engage. We shall have an elaborate discussion of identifying who has participated, and that's the only way we recognize you if you have dialogued sufficiently. We have some trophies to pass at the end of time. Please make sure you grab one. The only challenge, you must be a super dialoguer. That's the only way how you succeed. God bless, and I thank you, Karibuni.
Let's give the chair a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just remind you that the first breakout will be, the theme for discussion will be collaboration and competition in democratic development, which shall be moderated by Francis Luchivia. You don't want to miss this session, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want to miss it. The panelists are amazing. We'll have a keynote address by the Deputy Speaker, Honorable Chiboi, and other amazing, amazing guests. All right? So make sure you are here for the first breakout sessions. Remember, we'll be having exhibitions at the courtyard. The courtyard is the middle space at the main building, the National Museums building, and also other sessions, mostly for the young people, at the amphitheater. All right? But at later, I will announce as time goes by. Now, I want to invite a very, very important performer here. He's a poet. He's called Teardrops. Of course, his M-Pesa name, guests from other countries, M-Pesa is our mobile money transfer system. Award-winning, I may add. M-Pesa name is Joshua Awidi. Now, his thought-provoking poems are going to lay, the foundation of what we need, to think about what we are doing as a nation, to think where we want to go to. We have our leaders here. We're going to engage with them, talk with them, ask the difficult questions. Political parties are here. We're going to ask what they are doing. Jubilee is here. Wiper is here. KANU is here. All these political parties. If you want to join a political party, please feel free. They are here today. Ask them questions. Ask them what they stand for. Ask them what they will bring to the dialogue table. I want to recognize the presence of the minority leader, the Honorable John Mbadi, who will also be forming the panel that will be moderated by Francis Luchivia. Karibuni sana. This particular moment, I want to call upon the poet, Teardrops. Karibu sana. Tumkaribishe kwa makofi tayari.
Yes, good morning. How are you? You look so beautiful from up here. Okay, my name is Teardrops, and I'm a spoken word artist. I'm a Shakespearean, so I speak in Shem. If you won't understand, you'll feel the vibe, yeah? So give it up for Kenty on the guitar one more time. Before I perform my first piece, I just want to say a few things that I feel like yeah. Can I say good morning once more, so that we get to feel together? Sindio? So I'm from a place called Kariobangi South, and I have a problem when we have problems, and our problems are being discussed at a place where we can't find the solutions. This is where the solutions are, but the people that are supposed to be finding the solutions are not here. Yeah? You see, if you leave children or youths in the dark, tomorrow they'll be robbers and they'll start stealing transformers, and the whole village will be in the dark. So whether how empowered you are, whether how smart you are, today or tomorrow you'll find yourselves over there where people are not empowered, and you'll be in the dark, yeah? So next time, we want this festival back in Eastlands, back in those rural areas where people didn't need this. Yeah? And if you're here today and you feel like you want to bring change to your society, whatever you find from this place, spread it. Yeah? So let's do what we're gonna do best. My name is Theodros one more time. So I want to do a poem called Corruption Free Zone. Si kama haki iwe ngao, wacha haki iwe nao, haki isikuwe postponed, wacha haki iwe right now. Cause tunashikwa society ya haves na have nots, wananchi wamekuwa folded into have nots kama manoti kwa mkono ya conductor. The only time wanaachiliwa ni time yenye abiria wana demand change. You see, hii country ni kama classroom, na leo justice ako absent. First of all, let me take it from the top. Makarao ni dead men walking. That's when ito corpse. Society shapoteza hopes. Kenye ufanyika kwa news ni chafu. Amwezi to brainwash at after news mweke soaps. Waheshimiwa walitupatia hopes, then wakatuacha hanging kama suicide ropes. Inauma sana kusikia that chama fisadi ndio bado inavuma sana. Inauma sana kusikia that walitufukuza no folk kusini watumishi wa umma bana. Walitufukuza no folk kusini watumishi wa umma bana. Na inauma sana that kukiwa na protest ni kibanda ya mama mboga ndio inatumika kuwasha moto ya protest. Na ni politicians wako na beef. Tunaishi kwa country yenye full of injustices. The only time vitu zikuwa fair ni ile time si ulipa nauli na sometimes you hike. An apple a day keep the doctors away but not from our streets. Madaktari wakiamua kustrike. You see, tulipata new chief justice lakini kwa chief bado hatuna justice. Prison zikafungulia wezi wa chicken gate lakini bado tuko kwa mkono ya wasi wa chicken gate. You see, the word donation ina consist of two words, do na nation. Do zilipeano but hazikujenga nation. Unaweza buy gazeti but hawezi buy standard. Just because umekata kutake sides haimaanishi when you buy standard. Wenye unakupatia sleepless nights ndio bado wanakupatia 1000 reasons za kubuy kitanda. You see, ukienda kwa buildings za government utapata signboard kubwa imeandikwa corruption free zone. But kwa the word free iko silent, ni corruption free zone. You see, insecurity iko mtaa imezorota na maafisa wanangorota, maconstable wanaishi be comfortable. Inauma sana kusikia that tunaishi kwa country yenye you are guilty until proven innocent. You see, vijana wa ghetto wanachomwa na zile tiles zenye wale mawizi wa bilioni walibadilisha, na ndio paradox ya maisha, na sometimes inapanda shuka. Walichukua mabilioni wakaeka kwa mkono ya salonist, niambieni kama wakutusuka. Mkianza kuinvestigate the backbone of the story, mnapata hii story ni invertebrate na ina hata backbone. Mkihaya lawyer wananunua judge. Mungu Baba kuwa wa judge. Si kama haki iwe ngao, wacha haki iwe nao. Haki isikuwe postponed, wacha haki iwe right now. Are you here to be happy or you are happy to be here? Are you here to be happy or you are happy to be here? Yeah? Thank you so much for being here, because you're in the right place. Sindio? But no matter whatever you do, your heart will never be in the right place, because it's always on the left. Yeah? Serikali saidia kilio ni kile kile. I want you to clap like this. I want you to engage. If I say watoto wangu we, you say we. If I say stop, you stop, then I drop a line. Sindio? Twende. Watoto wangu we, toto wangu we, watoto wangu we. Pause. Mheshimiwa usiniringie kitambi yako moja, stove yangu iko nazo 8. Na hata korobo yangu iko na moja, but uni bring to the light. Watoto wangu we, watoto wangu we, watoto wangu we. Pause. Nairobi mzima mabazi imejaa. I wonder kama Turkana kuna bar, kama iko ni moja, inaitwa bar la njaa. Sikupata kazi Kenya ni kifo. That's why place ya job vacancy iko nyuma gazeti karibu na obituary. Watoto wangu we, watoto wangu we, watoto wangu we. Pause. Unajua ni kwa nini maskini wako na watoto wengi? Ni sababu wende monthly walipa peanuts. Watoto wangu we, watoto wangu we. Pause. Mwanaume before fikirie kuwa parent, nataka ujue that the last 4 letters kwa the word parent wani rent. Watoto wangu we, watoto wangu we. Pause. Niliambiwa na babu toka zamani, inchi bila amani ni inchi bila dhamani. Haifai kuwa inchi bila amani just because white iko na portion kidogo kwa bandera. #Mandera. Shida zina trend kuliko lari na rubadiri, au mafisadi ni mavazi wamebadili. Maadili ni yale yale. Ili kumaliza ugaidi waliahidi kumaliza, ili kumaliza ufisadi waliahidi kuongeza usalama zaidi, but magaidi ni wale wale, wanarudia yale yale, si mbali bali yale yale. Serikali saidia kilio ni kile kile. Si revolution itaanza na mimba tribalism ikifanywa abortion. Revolution itaanza na sisi kutobaguana na rangi, na at last wanawake weusi watajivunia kujipaka kiwi kama lotion. Revolution itaanza na maskini wakimeka big picture ya umaskini na corruption, alafu tupatie wanasiasa wapatie caption. Revolution itaanza na mabega wakitingizia matajiri mabega wakiwaambia keep your coins, we want real change. Revolution itaanza na machokora wakitu approach na business proposals za multi-billion dollars. Revolution itaanza na mahoka wakirun streets za jiji wakiwamevaa ma white collars. Revolution itaanza na sisi kwaenda kwa ma headphones za mapunk na kuambia it's about time wache kusikiza ngoma za kina Wizi Khalifa na mwanze kusikiza ngoma zetu kwa zinaongelea kuhusu wizi wa taifa. Revolution itaanza na fundi wa viatu akiripea watoned souls. Revolution itaanza na ku distort sound tusipeane sound. So revolution itaanza na mimi na wewe. Revolution itaanza na kuku kichinjwa shingo alafu mtoto wake atakuwa adopted na mwewe. Revolution itaanza na middle class wakigraduate to masters. Revolution itaanza na sisi kukataa na siasa, kuletea siasa kwa mazishi na kanisa. Revolution itaanza na daughters wetu Turkana wakibleed na feathers under them cause afford sanitary towels. Revolution itaanza na mvua ya Noa ikinyesha nende na wafisadi wote na watu wasafi wabaki kwa safina. Cause community ya wagema haikusifiwa, so tembo haikutiliwa maji. Ona sasa Muratina inatenganisha familia Karatina. So revolution itaanza na photographers, poets, guitarists, you and me. Revolution itaanza na madansa wakitap dance to songs of Lawino. Revolution itaanza na words of poets zikitoka na vidonda cause throat imejaa na tonsils. So revolution itaanza na Kamau na Njoroge wakioana alafu mtoto wao atakuwa anaitwa Awino. You see, kawe ni mama, kawe ni mama, utaencourage mtoto wako kwa tunashuka society yenye bouncer kona high chances za kuvaa suti before graduate. So kawe ni mama, utaencourage mtoto wako kule kitabu aendelee kupasi his dream ama kule fiti na eat the gym. Foleni inaanza juu ikitiko down, fedha zikipotea juu zina inspire wezi wa chini. Yo timeless nimespend hapa ni timeless. Nimejua hii life ni drama, Kiswahili na English ni grammar, but sheng ndio lugha ya mama. Next time pelekeni kitu mashinani. Shukran. Get up for Kenti on the guitar one more time.
Give it up To teardrops, ladies and gentlemen. Wasn't that great? Even if you do not understand Sheng, you could feel the rhythm, right? So let me just tell you something about Sheng. Sheng is the language of Nairobi. All right? It's a slang. You know, there are only two nations, I think two nations that have slang, Kenya and Jamaica. Amen? So in Nairobi we have Sheng. Basically, Sheng is a corruption of English and Swahili. So for example, he used the word donation. Donation in English means money given to support something. The word donation has two words. So do is money in Sheng, do. Nation, of course, is English. Do you feel it? You feel the vibe? All right. So we're gonna go on very, very fast. We will watch a short film, a short documentary film called The Voices of Reason. Basically, The Voices of Reason is a documentary that shows why we are here. All right? Why the need for dialogue. And I'm reminded that we are at the National Museums. And you know, this dialogue also encompasses something about our heritage that is preserved here at the National Museums. Okay? When we are dialoguing, let us make sure that we celebrate our differences, our ethnic differences. And you know what? I don't know if you've noted, but Teardrop's poem really went on and on about corruption. Corruption is a very big conversation point in our midst right now. So let us make sure we talk about it, because as I said, once we stop talking, we start fighting. The documentary, is it ready? Let us have the lights off, ladies and gentlemen, and watch this documentary.
It has been a long time since that 12th December day of 1963 when we hoisted our black, red and green colored flag. We were so proud, so happy, so full of expectations. The colors on our flag were symbolic. They represented who we were as a people of Black Africa. Red was for the struggle we overcame to secure our freedom from colonial domination. And the green, oh yes, that represented the prosperity that would come from working our land, nurturing our unity in diversity of our cultures, our tribes and our races. Our classrooms will be the places to excel in knowledge and skills, to educate the next generations, to coexist in our ethnic and cultural diversity, to heal the sick, to invent the tools we will need to be competitive in a world around us, and so much more. Years have hurtled by since that great day. Leaders have come and leaders have gone.
Ama nitastaafu kipindi hiki cha miaka mitano ikisha.
And with them, we've been through it all. The disillusionment and the constant search for hope for a better tomorrow. We once even topped the list of the happiest people in the whole world. And we savored those happy moments at every opportunity with laughter and jokes, any kind of joke.
If you just hang around and don't register, you are useless. No, true. You can't be useful.
But still, there are things we haven't quite figured out. Our leaders' intolerance for political, gender, and cultural differences seem to have gotten worse. So much so that they are stifling citizens' voices of reason, even as they refuse to be silenced, forever striving to rise above the noise. and influencing, albeit with difficulty, every single turn of the events in our history, one voice of reason at a time.
Kwa nini tuchukue kazi ya mtu mwingine tuweze kuifanya? Sasa na hii Kenya tumeijenga kwa muda mrefu. Kwa nini tunataka kujaribu in one day?
Even though the journey was long, 20 years plus actually, in the end we gave ourselves a much more progressive constitution than the one we got at independence. This new constitution of Kenya 2010 would, it was hoped, enable us to create strong and independent institutions and offices. The Parliament, the Judiciary, the Auditor General, all 12 of them. Our national treasury would be protected from corrupt practices that seem to be making a mockery of our hopes and aspirations. Our human rights will be upheld at all times. We would enjoy servant leadership. Women, youth, and other marginalized groups would be included in decision making, and every Kenyan would have a better chance at life regardless of who we knew or the regions from which we came. But less than 2 years after adopting the new constitution on August 8, 2010, that hope seemed dashed. Our lawmakers seemed to have forgotten their promises to us, that they would uphold the letter and the spirit of the constitution and create enabling legislation to actualize on its wonderful provisions for the benefit of us all. Our politics have instead remained as divisive as they have been since independence, maybe even worse.
If you read the report of George Kigoro, some people were buried in a hurry. Why?
Even though we have remained hopeful, as have our friends, well-wishers, and even some lawmakers, constantly extending a helping hand and words of wisdom.
So, Kenya will not succeed if it treats women and girls as second-class citizens. I want to be very clear about that.
Mr. Speaker, we have toiled in this parliament for the last few years. We've brought bills, Mr. Speaker. National Employment Authority, I sponsored in the last parliament, where all these young people who are supposedly defaulters of help would have now been engaged on compulsory internships, which would have paid those loans. Any police officer listening to me, don't you try to arrest any young person who has defaulted on help.
On the large part, though, we often wonder, how much more do we need to project our voices, to impress upon our parliament, to always endeavor to rise up to the occasion in pursuit of outcomes that cater for the needs of all Kenyans?
Please repeat after me. I, Uhuru Kenyatta.
One thing is for sure, though, that voices of reason abound among us, the Kenyan citizens, and this must be facilitated and constantly be heard. This will help shift the terms of engagement with our leaders and encourage them that even as elections must be competitive, above all, they must be constructive. For elections are a contest of ideas to resolve Kenya's societal problems and not about ethnicity, personality, gender, age, or riches. The People Dialogue Festival aims to provide such an opportunity. The inaugural 2019 edition rolls out an annual event that provides a platform for citizens' assembly to engage with leaders and with themselves to map out a better development path for ourselves and the country overall.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that particular film simply sets the ground for why we are here.
It has been a long
It actually sets the ground for the next session, which is the first breakout session for this festival. And something to point out, Si tumeona mtu na ndugu yake mkubwa. Tumeona mtu na brother yake mkubwa. Wameongea hawajaongea. They are speaking, right? They are dialoguing, and that is why we also are here. And also something that the President Obama said, that if Kenya wants to develop, we must treat our girls and women right. Right? We must not treat them as second-class citizens. Did I hear an "eh" from the ladies? All right. We'll be having a special session for the ladies later on. The second breakout session, actually. Political parties, when do they work for women? All right. That will be a very interesting space for the ladies and every other person to engage in. Right about now, ladies and gentlemen, I want us to go in for the first breakout session, which will be moderated by the one and only Francis Luchivia from Milele FM. All right, but before Francis Luchivia comes in, I want to invite the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, the Honorable Cheboy, to come and give a keynote address before we continue. Karibu sana mheshimiwa. Yeah. Can I have the podium, my ushers, please? Let me have the podium. Ushers, let me have the podium. Tumkaribishe mheshimiwa Benjamin Cheboy tafadhali. As the podium comes, karibu sana mheshimiwa. You could say hi in an informal way as you get.
As I wait.
Yes.
I don't like rappers. I don't like rappers. Well, I was in the University of Nairobi in the early 90s, and there were two discos very close to where we are here. One was Bubbles, and the other one was Ainsworth. And I went there only once, because I realized the rappers can even insult you and you keep clapping. The rapper who was here was talking about politicians, even speaking in funerals and weddings, and I could see my good friend, John Buddy, clapping. I understood he did not understand what was being said. So I don't like it. And if there is anything that you did that was wrong, Honorable Magara, one is to invite a rapper before politicians, and two, to let those dignitaries in quotes, to sit just in front here. Two problems. Number one, we cannot be able to see properly what was going on here, not even hear it properly also, and worse off, very threatening. If they did a somersault, we would have been the ones who would have been injured much, much faster than the others. I also see what we are here to do about dialogue. And again, my good friend, Honorable Mbadi, the minority leader, would confirm that again in this very same University of Nairobi, those days, there is something that came about to be termed as dialogue. I know many, many youth who are here are fairly young. They will not know it. But there was a lot of problems in the Nairobi University around the 90s again. And after a lot of, quarrels with the administration, they demanded that they be given a dialogue. And that dialogue ended up becoming chapati. It was a chapati, which was served every Tuesday and Thursday, 1.5 chapatis. So it was called dialogue. People agreed. So when I looked at the theme, I said it's very close by, close to where the dialogue originated from. I'm very happy to be here. I do not like some things about the position that I've been given or that I aspired to be and got, because every time you go to any meeting, you are given a speech to go and read. I'm not very used to that myself. I'm used to just speaking. And I am proud to be here, and I'm very happy because I see my old colleague, whom we were in parliament together, who is now the chair of Center of Multi-Party Democracy. He came a little later than I was. I was here a little earlier myself. I was with the CMD earlier. I was with the substantive speaker whom I'm representing today. He was the chair, and I looked for any other seat that was almost equivalent to the chair. I didn't get it. So there was one I saw, they had placed a very good and heavy title, Chair Resource Mobilization. That one was just chair, the one which Honorable Muturi occupied. So I took the one that was Chair Resource Mobilization. And I can tell you I was there for 2.5 years, close to 3. We did not mobilize any resource. Thank you very much. I see His High Excellency, the Ambassador of Dani. So I kept an office that I had nothing. And we had a raft of people who, you know, were CEOs then. We had Jerry Kabeberi, she did very well. We had Omweri Angima. We had the late Carrie Francis. And I can tell you, the participants who are here and visitors, that CMD does a very good job. Support them as much as you can. They do a very good job in terms of nurturing democracy in our country, in terms of creating dialogue between the political parties and the systems in government. So they did a good job, and I'm very proud of you, Honorable Magara. Honorable Magara, as I said, was a member of parliament for quite some time, and he's been in quite different places in society, and you are doing a good job with your team. So I don't want to say more. Maybe just read this short keynote address. I do not know whether it's a keynote address, but it's just an address, and I hope at the end of it all, I'm going to be asked to declare it officially open. Or did you open it yesterday? So if it is today, remind me just in case I forget. I forget it all the time. So to declare it, and Honorable Mbadi knows, I keep forgetting. Declaring it officially open or declaring it officially closed, I keep forgetting. But in all, I'm happy that there is something that is happening in Kenya of this nature. This is an inaugural one. We were in CMD, we were not able to think about this. And this is something that has not been done before. It is the first one, and it's a good thing that you are doing. So would you allow me, for example, at that point, to declare the meeting officially opened and leave my address for it to be circulated later? Now that we have this here. And I was happy. I asked what it was going to be about. The Honorable Speaker himself would really have wanted to come and make this address himself. Unfortunately, he's traveling to Zambia. And because he has a lot of, he has quite a lot of connection with CMD, he would have been very happy to be here. He would have been very happy to be here. He was a chairman just before he was elevated to become a speaker. So he asked me to pass his regards and say that in future, whenever you have the next one, make sure you give him sufficient notice so that even if he has any other engagement, he will cancel it to give time to this one. It is something that we would want to know, really, what you are doing. As politicians, we are very cautious. I asked when I was asked to give this address and asked, what is it all about? I was told that we want to, shift from what has been happening to shift to a new era, including a very good one, which I liked from the CEO of CMD. He told me we want to remove ourselves from transactional leadership. We want a situation whereby politicians, leaders, and everybody else can dialogue, can be able to interact. Yes? That even that man or mama mboga at the constituency level can be able to sit with his own member of parliament and even buy him tea as they discuss. And I thought that was a very good one. I wish we can encourage that one a little more, where we can be able to get that kind of thing from from our people back at home, so that leadership is not one way. So thank you very much. I will want to briefly read my speech. I will jump a few areas because I realized you really wanted to save time. The chairman himself spoke only for 2 minutes, and I thought it's something that we really wanted to emulate. So all dignitaries, His High Excellency, the Ambassador for the Royal Danish, from Denmark, High Excellency Met Nosden, sorry if I mispronounced, Chair CMD, all other protocols observed, our own visitors coming from different parts of the world. I am highly delighted and honored to join you in this very important festival. Democratic government, which is a supreme power, is vested in the people and exercised by them directly or indirectly through a system of representation, usually involving periodical, held, free, fair, and credible elections. As a nation, our democracy has grown from when we gained independence with some semblance of multi-party democracy to a place when we lost that and went into single-party system, and then again came back to a very vibrant multi-party democracy that we are now experiencing currently. Distinguished participants, the new constitution clearly outlines the institutions through which democracy is realized in Kenya. Kenyans exercise their democratic rights by electing leaders of their choice to the executive, parliament, and in counties. Parliament is therefore a very crucial pillar in our democratic process. The role of the National Assembly is to enact legislations, determine the allocations of national revenue of government, and oversight of the state organs. That becomes very important, especially having heard what I wish this would come closer so that I can now do something else much faster. That becomes very important. Having heard what the rapper said here, there are quite a number of things that come out of that. So, distinguished participants, democracy is one of our national values, as well as patriotism, national unity, sharing, and devolution of power, the rule of law, and the participation of people. Democracy in any of its meanings requires the existence of a free exercise of certain basic individual and group rights. These rights include right to life, equal protection, equality, non-discrimination directly or indirectly against any person on any ground, including race, sex, ethnic and social origin, disability or religion, freedom of expression and assembly, and judicial access. Realization of these rights enhance cohesion and equality of life of any nation. Distinguished participants, appropriate democracy requires upholding of favorable social and economic environment. The society must be able to access basic social and economic needs, and thus ensuring that everyone is an integral part of the democratic process. Public participation enhances inclusivity and democracy. Article 174C and 184(1)C of the Constitution guarantees the participation of people in governance and management of public resources and management of those public resources. Article 118(1)B and 196(1) of our Constitution give citizens the right to participate in the decision-making process of the National Assembly and county assemblies. The law-making bodies are in turn required to involve public through holding of public forums to discuss policy proposals. Citizens can, in addition, petition Parliament to look into any issue that they consider to be of public concern. Parliament is currently working on a bill on public participation to streamline the process. Participants, accountability is another factor of quality democracy. In practice, accountability is manifested by checks and balances, which investigatory committees of Parliament, chaired by the minority party in the National Assembly, which is chaired by the minority party in the National Assembly. The scrutiny of public resources enhances prudent utilization, hence the citizens can enjoy fruits of democracy. The freedom of expression enjoyed by the media and civil societies facilitates access to information by majority of citizens, which enable them to make informed decisions. Finally, for democracy to be successful, the leaders and citizens must uphold integrity and observe rule of law. Once more, I thank you for invitation and wish you a very successful deliberations. And I therefore declare this meeting officially Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mheshimiwa Cheboy, asante sana. I will invite Francis Luchivia. I will invite Francis Luchivia, and as he takes his position, I want to make just a few housekeeping announcements. Number one, there is refreshments and snacks have been served. There's a service point behind the auditorium. The service point, I think, around the courtyard, around there. But will not go all of us. When you're exiting, you will be given a voucher that you can use to get something to eat. Breakfast kidogo na mambo kama yale. Sasa. So, but you know, we're not moving all of us at once. The people who will be moving out there, because we still have a breakout session here. So, Francis Luchivia will moderate this session now, collaboration and competition in democratic development. Karibu sana, Bwana Francis Luchivia.
Asante sana, asante sana. Ladies and gentlemen, we are getting into the first session of our discussion in the People's Dialogue, collaboration and competition in democratic development. It's coming in the backdrop of what has happened in Kenya 1 year. On 9th March last year, we had the famous handshake, and that's what we are discussing. If Raila Odinga, the leader of the opposition in this country, can talk to Uhuru Kenyatta, what about us? What about you, common mwananchi, talking to your leader, your MCA, your MP, your governor, your senator, your president? That's the basic now of this conversation. And we want to make it informal. In this session, I have the panelists. And the people that I have on the panel is the majority, a representative of the majority leader in the National Assembly. I'm expecting the Molo MP, Honorable Kimani Kuria, to be here. We have the Honorable John Mbadi, minority leader in the National Assembly. And then we have Waruguru Wakiai, representing the youth. She's coming from that background of the youth agenda. Then we have Miss Roslyn Odede Adhiambo, a renowned lawyer, very known to Kenyans. She's here. She's a member of the council. She's a council member of the Law Society of Kenya. Then we have Mr. Henrik Bach Mortensen, the Vice President of the Alliance of Liberals and Democrats in Europe. So I'll start by giving this opportunity maybe for introduction. Waruguru Kiai.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Anne Waruguru Kiai. I am a director in the Youth Agenda Board, and I'm very happy to see very many young faces in this dialogue, and I hope that we shall have a good conversation about Kenya and about us as young people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. If you look at the setup, she just seated among Kenyans. In your introduction, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Roslyn Odede. I'm happy to be here, and I'm here to be happy. Karibuni.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mbadi.
Good morning, everyone. John Mbadi. I'm the Member of Parliament for Suba South. I'm also the leader of the Minority Coalition of Parties in the National Assembly, and I also chair the Orange Democratic Movement Party. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You can see to the mic. The first session, we are looking at collaboration and competition in democratic development. This is an informal session. Wakenya tunakuja pamoja, tunazungumza kuhusu masuala ambayo yanatuhusu. Nikianza na opening remarks kutoka kwa Madam Roslyn Odede. Talk about this collaboration and competition in our politics.
Thank you very much. I probably need to explain that my background is FIDA Kenya, so I speak women's rights most of the time, and I will ground my issues around women's rights. Thank you. When I think of democratic development, I think of issues of basic needs. I think of shelter, I think of food, I think of health. I also think of issues of inclusivity, issues of equality, issues of parity. And I'm thinking about collaboration and thinking about competition. When it comes to competition, competitive politics, women are still not there because we need affirmative action. And indeed, Constitution of Kenya 2010 recognized this and set up spaces for affirmative action. Then I think of collaboration, and I think to myself, finally we're going to get the 2/3 gender rule in place. It's a sad time for us as women of Kenya, because despite competition, despite collaboration, despite the Constitution, we are still not there. Ladies and gentlemen, food for thought for this dialogue. How can women get that space? Because competition has not done it, collaboration has not done it. Let's think about that.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mbadi, what are your thoughts about this collaboration, the politics of collaboration? 1 year down the line, the country is very quiet. Wazungus used to come to Kenya and say, Kenya hakuna matara. Kuna matata Kenya? Hakuna matata. Take it from there.
I think, first of all, I have to admit that I'm not so used to question and answer sessions. I'm used to politics of talking to people, they clap for you and you leave. Unfortunately, I have to adjust to the environment. Today, it's like it's interactive, and I think it is an experience which I must embrace. My understanding is that we are operating in a very unique political environment, an environment that we are not used to as a country. When you talk about collaboration, in my view, you understand it to mean coming together of minds. And this coming together of minds can be for a short-term objective or for a long-term goal. For a short-term objective, especially among political parties, would come about when maybe you have some kind of legislation to push through. And in terms of long-term, maybe it is for strategic interest that you want to, in future, form coalitions to win elections, or rather to fight for some long outstanding historical distortion, like what my sister Odede was talking about regarding inclusivity in leadership, inclusivity of both genders in leadership. And I think this is a very important week for gender equation. I'm told this is the week for women. Is that not so? So this is a week that we need to really, in the spirit of collaboration, to think through whether we have failed in actualizing what we started. But just maybe two things to, in response to what Odede talked about. And with all due respect, I want to say this in 1 minute or two, that I think we have made serious attempts to engender leadership. Because in this country, I think one gender, which is constituting close to 51%, I refuse this rumor that is being peddled around that women are 52%. That is not factual. Women are 50 points, about 8%. So let's round it up to 51%. Men are 49%. If you decide to go statistics, be factual. Now, that is a very serious percentage you leave out to only represent less than 20% in the leadership of the country. But this attempt seems not to be enjoying very good support from the people that it should enjoy. I think it is high time we started asking tough questions and ask ourselves, how come the youth are finding it to leadership? If you look at the composition of parliament today, the youth representation is higher than women representation. I want to urge my women colleagues, wherever they are, that I think you need to change the language, the messaging when you are campaigning, because this discussion that the women are disadvantaged in terms of resources, etc., is stale. The youth, like this MP who is 24 years old, I don't think he has resources. In fact, he came to parliament without even a bicycle. But the bottom line is, if you make your agenda for campaign that this is the time for women, you scare other people. You scare the opposite gender. So please come out that leadership is blind to gender. And don't overemphasize when you are campaigning in constituencies in wards that chagua mama is wakati ni ya wamama. You know, when you try to come out weak, there is no one in the world who would want to elect a weak person as a leader. So don't come out like the women are a weak agenda. Women are not a weak agenda. In fact, carrying a child in your womb for 9 months, if you give it to men, many of us would give up. In fact, if we would all take family planning pills as men. So women are not weak, come out strong. Pole, I think I'm taking too long. I'm probably had too much to say. Thank you so much.
You're on course, Mheshimiwa. That's Honorable Mbadi, the minority leader in the National Assembly. We also have a representative of the majority leader in the National Assembly, Honorable Kimani Kuria. Your introduction, please.
I thank you very much. My name is Honorable Kuria Kimani, Member of Parliament for Molo constituency, representing the leader of majority from the National Assembly. I was elected a Member of Parliament at 28 years of age. So that tells you that there's a space of young people in this country. I would like to join the leader of minority in saying this. I have been a great soldier of saying that we need youth in leadership. Our constitution talks about that Parliament shall enact laws that will ensure representation of youth, women, people with disabilities, and the marginalized communities. But what did the women do? You took that issue and took it as an issue of women. Our numbers in Parliament, for example, we are around 49 members of Parliament in the National Assembly. We are also several of us at the Senate. How many women members of Parliament do we have? If we count county members of Parliament alone, are 47. What does that mean? If we change the course of reasoning and said, let us pursue this course as an issue of youth and women in leadership, we'll have the numbers, and without these old people, the old men in this country. In Nakuru County, where I come from, we have 11 constituencies. And out of the 11 constituencies, members of these constituencies elected not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 women. They didn't seek to be nominated in those positions. They fought and they were elected. Why? Because people do not want women leaders. People do not want youth leaders. The people want leaders. They want good leaders. So what choice are we giving people? Do we elect a woman leader, a woman bad leader, or do we elect a leader? So given a choice, even for women in this house, if you are to choose between one bad leader, who is a woman, and a man good leader, who would you choose? So we need to change that narrative. That we do not want women in leadership. We do not even need youth in leadership. We want good leaders that will lead from their hearts and that will change and transform our societies. And the time that we get that right, we will have many people working, and we'll have representation of youth, we'll have representation of women, we'll have representation of marginalized communities, we'll have a representation of people with disabilities. And with that, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's get to hear from the youth, Waruguru Wakiai from Youth Agenda.
So what comes into my mind, we talk about competition and collaboration, most especially going to the young people, is the question of representation and also the question of participation. I have seen most of us clap when our majority leader, our minority leader was justifying the question of leadership in the country. And whereas it is the ideal situation to have both women and men in Parliament without even questioning quality of the women in terms of being a good and bad leader, let us not forget, especially for young people, that the reality of this country is that we live in a system of seeing is believing. I will give an example. For Uhuru Kenyatta, our president, to become the president today, he had to go through a system of demonstrating his skills and capacities. At some point, he was a minister. He grew all the way to a point where he became the president, right? He didn't just show up one day and just become president. There was a system. He grew into the party system, and he also grew into the governance system. When we say that we want leaders, both young people and women and persons with disabilities, and we fail to understand the realities of Kenya in terms of getting that representation, then we fail ourselves. How many of us here believe that actually young people, I want to see by a show of hands, how many young people here believe that they can be MPs, by a show of hands? Senators? MCAs? MCAs, let me just see it. The President of the Republic of Kenya, by a show of hands. That is very positive. Now, how many of us believe that our political system and our governance system, as currently constituted, will allow you, in your current status the way you are, with your skills and capacities, to become an MCA, by a show of hands? How many believe that their political systems, your political parties, your governance system, will have faith in you to become an MCA today, to become a governor, to become the President of the Republic of Kenya? Something has changed. So let us stick, or let us agree with the realities as it is. If we are not given a chance, and that also goes to the women, if you are not given a chance to demonstrate who you are and to grow into these systems, chances are that you will never get into those positions. And whereas we are saying that we want to have good leaders and women, we cannot run away from the challenges that are affecting young people and women, and these challenges becoming in like vikwazo, or things that make it very hard for us to be leaders. So I would want to say that in the spirit of collaboration and just getting into the systems of governance and our political parties, we have a long way to go in ensuring that these young men and women, and also the women in this room, actually get to actively participate and in terms of making decisions in both the county and the national level. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm coming back to you, Rosalind Odede Adhiambo. The question I want to ask you is about unpacking the Building Bridges initiative between, as a result of the handshake between the President and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. Is it going to create a platform that will bring in the change that Kenyans have been desiring, especially when it comes to the rule of law, democratization in this country?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I see a little fire when I talked about women, and everybody had to comment on that. Moving on to issues of accountability, transparency, and rule of law, and issues of dialogue and building bridges. We've got to ask ourselves, first of all, how inclusive is the Building Bridges initiative? How many people were consulted before they came up with their 9-point agenda? Were the people consulted? Did they talk to us the way we are conversing now? How inclusive is that initiative? Those are the issues we need to introspect with. When we're talking about democratic development and we're talking about creating spaces that would be more beneficial to us as Kenyans, then we've got to be honest with ourselves and ask ourselves, before we even get to build bridges, what have we done with all the reports we have rotting in the cupboards? We have the TJRC report. We have the WAKI Commission, the CPEV report. We have all these issues. There are issues of sexual violence arising out of elections and competition. There are issues of babies dying. There are issues of girls and women being attacked in their houses during elections. Are these issues on the table at the BBI? I do not see them. For us as women, these are the issues that concern us. The fact that I can sit in my house in Kibera and get raped by a police officer, a security agent, those are the issues that concern us. But no one is talking about it. There's no acknowledgement. There is no apology. There is no reparations for it. Where do we as the women of Kenya stand when you tell us to go to the BBI and yet we are still hurting? There's still a lot of pain in our hearts. We're still bleeding from the wounds. I think something needs to be done around these issues. The BBI initiative for us as women is still not addressing the agenda as we would like to see it on the table. It has not invited us to speak on these issues. And I think before we talk about BBI, before we talk about democratic development, Kenyans, we need to be open. We need to open the wounds. We've seen a lot of money being given out to survivors of post-election violence. I have not seen any money being given to address the problems of women who are sexually violated. If you look at the KNCHR report at that time, they say they recorded over 260 cases of sexual violence. And that's just a drop in the ocean, because that's only the reports they have from women who are willing to approach them and talk about the sexual violence. They recognize that a lot of women do not come out to talk because of stigmatization, because of shame, because of the probability of divorce when your husband discovers the wife was sexually assaulted. So that number of 260 is just a drop in the ocean. But these are issues we are not discussing. These are issues that are not on the table at BBI. And for me, coming from FIDA Kenya, a woman and being a mother, I think these are issues BBI needs to address. Accountability, rule of law, and let us respect reports and the issues that we have discussed in the past. Thank you.
We have Mr. Henrik Bach Montesen, the Vice President of the Alliance of Liberals and Democrats in Europe. We want to see how things are done in Europe, and because this People's Dialogue Festival is, we are trying to borrow this idea from the European countries where they meet in town halls and discuss issues between wananchi, the leaders and opinion leaders. Welcome, Mr. Henrik Bach Montesen.
Thank you so much. And thank you for this opportunity to be present here at the People's Dialogue meeting. It's indeed a privilege for me as a foreigner to join this very, very important session. And I can already hear that there's a very great appetite for political discussion. So I'm sure I'm really going to enjoy these 3 days. But could I first of all congratulate the CMD, the Kenya Center for Multi-Party Democracy, for staging this event. I would perhaps in particular congratulate the political parties and the politicians in Kenya to choose to come together in this way. You have decided to join each other in friendly discussions on important political issues which face your country. And as such, you set a brilliant examples for politicians and political parties in Africa and beyond. I know that you are painfully aware that politics can lead to violent disagreements and hostilities. The purpose and the activities of CMD and of this People's Dialogue is to avoid such unpleasant occurrences. I think the People's Dialogue meeting is a significant contribution to developing a political culture based on mutual respect, an environment where elected politicians can come together, can negotiate compromises and form coalitions between persons and parties that have fought each other hard in discussions and the campaigns leading up to the election. Politics should ideally be about both collaboration and competition. We're dealing with politics, and we are politicians. And as such, it would be illogical to tell us not to compete. Political ideas differ. Politicians and political parties offer different packages of political views and ideas to the voters. We do that because we have different ideas about how to shape a society and what the society should look like. So the central idea of democratic competition of election is to let the voters decide who should have the backing of the people to rule the country, to form the government. But politics should also be about collaboration. No wonder, no matter whether we meet as politicians in local councils or in parliaments, we should have this in mind as well. We should engage in a well-mannered conduct during the elections, but also after. Having different political views does not mean that we should not be able to work together peacefully in Parliament or in local councils for that matter. Sometimes it's a good idea to work out a compromise. Sometimes the majority should go alone. But then on the other hand, if the government or the leadership or the majority decides to go alone, that also defines the role of the opposition. As you might know, I come from not just Europe, from a very tiny, small country in the northern part of Europe in Scandinavia called Denmark. We have a very long democratic tradition. We consider our democracy a mature one. It's in most respects 170 years old. Women just got the voting rights just over 100 years ago. But in many ways, we face democratic problems even with a mature democracy in Denmark. The number of members of the political parties has been falling for many, many years. And too many citizens in my country take democracy for granted. It's very clear that many people, many voters in my country and in other parts of Europe these days are attracted to populist ideas which are being put forward by colorful characters rather than the ideas and the people put up by traditional political parties. We face the challenge and the danger to democracy that people are getting lured in some way by these colorful characters who offer very dangerous solutions to very relevant questions. Now in Denmark, we've had our People's Dialogue meeting, what we call the People's Political Festival, for almost 10 years. And it has been the most spectacular new activity in our democracy for decades. All political parties, as well as hundreds of civil society organizations, consider the Dialogue Festival the most important popular political event during the year. I hope that your political dialogue meeting can develop into a similar important occasion here in this country. And from the very, very impressive program which has been set up, I can see that this festival already will have enormous impact on Kenyan politics. So I'm honored that the organizers from CMD tells us that the People's Dialogue Festival have been able to find inspiration from our People's Meeting in Denmark. Now, actually, these days I'm preparing for the next People's Political Meeting in Denmark, which will take place in a few months' time. I'm thinking hard of new ideas, finding new ways of attracting voters and engaging in interesting discussions. And I'm sure that these 3 days here in Nairobi will give me lots of ideas to think about, and that these 3 days and your People's Dialogue meeting will be a huge influence for our political meeting this coming June. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mbadi, I want you to come in with the issue of the you know, everybody is talking about the handshake, and handshake is a dialogue on its own, and we are celebrating the People's Dialogue. You can go to the website www.menti.com and use the code 869779. You can be able to forward your question, you can be able to forward your observation, anything that you feel about the dialogue, you can be able to forward there. Honorable Mbadi.
Thank you very much. I've actually asked Lishivia that I may be here for the next 30 minutes, and with your permission, I'll leave. If anything, my SG has just walked in, and he will stand in for me in the event that something that requires the attention of Orange Democratic Movement Party is needed. And lawyer Sifuna is here. First of all, allow me just 1 minute to correct maybe a misunderstanding that I generated, which my sister has responded to. Really, I did not mean that women have reached a point that now they can compete fairly with men in this country. It is not true. If that's what I implied, then that is not correct.
What I meant is that, because we know there are a lot of factors that work against women in terms of competitive politics in this country, some cultural, some historical, some economical. So we cannot shy away, we cannot bury our heads in the sand. What I meant is that we need to probably change messaging, especially those women who go into competitive politics. Communication is very important. And if you don't communicate effectively, you may be misunderstood, and that can work against you, including even the positions that we have, the affirmative action positions, the nominations that we give MCAs at the counties, the nominations that we give at the Senate. It works a lot against women, because when you run for a political office, you are told already you have your position, you have your seat. So we need to see how do we communicate effectively to enhance the numbers, because we need to enhance the number of both gender in elective positions. We as a party, ODM party, I would say that, and I've heard this and I don't see voices of women condemning this very strongly, especially FIDA. I've heard people castigating, and sometimes it is true that parties nominate women who are not supposed to be nominated. That some are girlfriends, ETC, slay queens, the new terminology in town. The truth could be there, but you should not wholesomely condemn all those who are given slots in terms of nomination to be incompetent. I would give you an example. My party, Orange Democratic Movement, in the 10th Parliament, nominated Millie Odhiambo. She has now won her seat 2 times as elected leader. That means ODM did the right thing. They gave the right person nomination, someone who used that position to now fight for elective position. We also nominated Rachel Shebesh, who is the immediate former women rep for Nairobi. We nominated Sophia, the first woman to be elected in the whole of Northeastern Province, the former Northeastern Province, in a constituency, is that Sophia. Why? Courtesy of the nomination that she got in the 10th Parliament. So we can give examples of people who are competent enough, who are getting this nomination. There are also the bad apples among the good ones. Now, let me address quickly the issue that I've been asked to address, maybe in the next 2 minutes. First, we need to understand the background, what caused the BBI, or the Building Bridges Initiative, and the handshake. I agree with Dede again, and I will disagree with you, that probably communication is wanting, that we need to communicate better. What is it for? But again, talking about consultation, how did we come to the handshake? Kenyans communicated, because immediately after the last 2017 elections, this country was almost collapsing. The country was divided right in the middle. We had 2 presidents in this country. I refused to recognize Uhuru Kenyatta as the president of the country, even on the floor of the House. It is still on the Hansard. No one has expunged it. But now I do. Why? Because Kenyans told the 2 leaders, in fact the communication was to the 2 leaders, that call your President Uhuru, even drive to Karen to reach out to Raila. Raila, why don't you pick a phone call and call Uhuru Kenyatta? These 2 leaders listened to Kenyans. That was dialogue. That was consultation. You don't have to call a public baraza to Uhuru Park to consult with Kenyans. Kenyans can consult in newspapers, in TV stations, in talk shows. Kenyans were Twitter, social media. People were communicating to these 2 leaders and offering suggestions, and the 2 leaders listened, came together, shook hands. And it is true that probably through this BBI, we may lose it. May we lose? We may lose certain important considerations in this country. But whose mistake is it? This is the time that we need to organize ourselves to communicate to the BBI initiative, a team that was formed to champion now this process. You can't leave it now to the 2 leaders. And these people have been going across the country, dialoguing. And Madam Odede, you have expressed yourself very well. But the problem I find sometimes with Kenyans, we are too academic. We are not realistic. Politics is all about interests. So if you leave it to me as Mbadi, I will just go and present what serves my interest. If you have some other thing that serves the wider interests of the country, present it. And it is not true that the issues that Madam Odede addressed is not part of the agenda of the Building Bridges Initiative. I want to read to you the 9 agenda items. Number 1, inclusivity and ethnic polarization. Number 2 was restoring confidence in our electoral system, because that was identified as one of the key contributors to the problems that we were facing as a country. The structure of the executive, and I think this is what caused Madam Odede to talk the way she talked, because really all the discussions we hear is more or less about the structure of the executive. But who is it to blame? Has FIDA gone to this team and presented the other views? Why are you waiting for Mbadi, who is interested in power, to present it for you? Me, I'm looking for power. I want to be prime minister. I want to be president of this country. And that to me is more important than the others. So you who considers the other one like independence of the judiciary, present how you want to strengthen judiciary. There is the other one, compensation to victims of violence. It is one of the 9 agendas, and that is what Madam Odede dwelt on. Please present that to the BBI on our behalf as a country. Corruption was another one. Addressing the issues of police brutality through conclusive police reforms. That is a very integral part of the agenda we have given to these 14 men and women. Deepening democracy. That is very wide. Can include everything, including gender. Can be included there. Addressing the issues of, I've read that. And finally, more support to devolve units of governance. Because we have realized one of the causes of conflict anywhere in the world is fight over resources. That is the problem that we are fighting for. Why do you think people fight so hard to occupy political position? So in my view, I just wanted to say as a nutshell, that instead of criticizing every initiative that comes about, why don't we offer those solutions? If you're waiting that there is someone somewhere who is more advantaged or privileged to present it on your behalf, you lose it. Members of parliament are people's representatives, but again, the other question you may want to ask, how representing are they? Do they represent your views? The jury is out there. Thank you.
Before you leave, Mheshimiwa, I will ask the audience, wananchi wa tukufu, if you have any question about this bill, the handshake thing. I'll pick some 2-3 questions from wananchi. This is dialogue. Your
hello.
name, then where are you coming from, then you go on.
Okay, my name is Wajohi Nyamu, Chairman of Africa Art Group, and I also take part in Bungera Mwananishi. I am shocked to hear that there is anybody fighting corruption. While we know corruption is firstborn of religion, democracy is secondborn, and slavery is thirdborn. So, through my research, how long have we been fighting this corruption, Mr. Badi? And it is not going away. It is just like the way the religion has been fighting devil, which they have been unable to win the war. Yeah? Improving a lot of money paid by Kenyan as a tax. I was at Boma's anti-corruption conference where I saw anti-corruption doing corruption. So, when building this initiative, it looks like it is targeting a deputy president. So, it is good if it is democracy. Let us follow democracy the way it is. And let us rewrite the constitution, interpret it in all mother tongue languages, take it to every sub-location, correct views, and it should not be in a hurry. My suggestion is the best time for referendum is 2024. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Nathaniel Mongare Akadima, and I'm the national spokesperson of the ANC Youth League. I've listened to the sentiments by Honorable Mbadi, and I wish to say that the voices you are hearing here today about the consultation on the formation of the Building Bridges Initiative, it's about the non-involvement of the public in the first place, I mean from the first point of instance when it was formed. Why am I saying this? In 2007, when we had an historical issue of violence among the Kenyan communities, the two leaders then, Raila Amolo Odinga and Mwai Kibaki, they held a dialogue, just like the one that is now called the handshake, in 2007, and that dialogue was anchored in a national accord and reconciliation agreement. That agreement went further, and it was entrenched in the Constitution as the National Accord and Reconciliation Act of 2008. And any time the people of the other side of ODM was not consulted by the other side of PNU, they could shout, "I have not been consulted." And you could hear the public guaranteed that document. Anytime Right Honorable Raila Odinga was not consulted, the public guaranteed the document because it was, from the first place, a public negotiation, and it was guaranteed in the institution of parliament, and the public knew the content of that dialogue. But what is different with this handshake? This handshake is different because the two great leaders sat in a silent room, as you've mentioned, and there is no public document apart from that statement you've read that guarantees. So the public really is not clear on what is the end game of this handshake. That's why I'm raising this issue. For example, that team that you have mentioned does not include young people. Among the 14 members, we don't have young people in that team. And if you look at the issues affecting Kenyans today, as we are going to have a report from that committee, the young people and the issues of the young people are not going to be crystallized in a manner that we desire. That's why we want to say that that team has to be looked at so that the young people issues are mainstreamed across. That's what I mean, the voices I'm trying to hear from this gathering. Thank you so much.
Thank you, members. My name is Lawi Oyugi from Concerned Citizen Alliance. I'm also the spokesman, Office of the President, Bunge la Wananchi. My question is one, and it's not just a question, it's just submission to Chairman ODM so that he can let the people who are spearheading the Building Bridges initiative, that Wananchi outside here, they have several questions which are not included, and we are really banning, Mr. Chairman, like the issue of I think you are aware, before election, we have political prisoners. We have people who are jailed as a result of election. People like Johnson Mudhama, people, I think you are aware of them. They are not being put on the table. Before we shake hands, we first want to know, are they going to be freed before we discuss anything? Finally, we want to know if the question which has been just raised by my colleague here about the youths being included in the Building Bridges initiative. We are not aware of any youths who is presenting us there. So we want something which is clear, which nation can believe in, and we shall all support the initiative of Building Bridges initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. We are trying to unpack the Building Bridges initiative. Honorable Mbadi.
They are crying.
Gender?
At least we need at least a lady or two.
I've just had to take it. My name is Cynthia Mutere. I'm the chair of all women in the Ford Kenya Party. I'm also the secretary at CMD. And most importantly, and proud to say it, a member of the County Assembly of Busia. Thank you. I make this emphasis because even in the presentation of the 9-point agenda, it is put at the very bottom. Really, devolution needs to be prioritized. Number two, the honorable lady representing Youth Agenda, Ms. Waruguru. She did a survey here and just asked, who would like to be a member of the county assembly? I saw 2 hands up. 2 people from the youth who are interested in being members of the county assembly. Now, I don't know if we need a paradigm shift or what we need, because it seems like being a politician or coming into these positions of decision making is like, for Kenya, a get-rich-quick scheme. And the youth are not interested in member of a county assembly. Maybe it's peanuts. Everybody wants to be member of parliament, senator, tukienda juu, eh? Hakuna mtu hapa anataka kuwa mashinani. But really, youth, you've come here to get your education, and we need you back home. The county assemblies are not glorified councils. You know, you are used to the council meetings where chairs were flying and people are boxing and all. This is a government that is distinct from the national. I can't emphasize it more. I really wish that you leave this dialogue festival rethinking the county assemblies and devolution. I was really happy to hear the people's president yesterday at the devolution conference that's going on in Kirinyaga really put out an argument for devolution, where we need more resources back there, so that we are not fighting here for these resources at the national table, but down there, you take the resources there. The 9-point agenda of national government really are devolved functions if we read the Constitution and the 4 schedules. So I really just needed to emphasize that. Young people, rethink those seats that you're vying. Come back home. Tunawahitaji mashinani. Asanteni.
Another voice from our beautiful ladies. Another voice.
Hello, I'm Jambo wa Kenya. My name's Margaret Wayona from National Women's Steering Committee. What the handshake has done is good, but it has only brought peace in Kenya. Nevertheless, the dragon of corruption need to be slayed by the president and the former prime minister of Kenya. The judiciary is also letting us down. How comes billions are getting lost every day, and we've never ever seen these economic looters being jailed in Kenya? Why? Why? I'm crying as a woman. We are suffering because of this corruption. 7 billion, 20 billion getting lost every day. It's an opportunity I've gotten to pass that message. Number 2, the DPP is really trying, according to me. But after getting those who have looted monies from the public, we've never ever seen a single individual being taken to court to answer those questions. We have several monies stashed abroad. Others in, I don't know, Swiss, I don't know where. They've never returned those looted amounts. I'm appealing to the president and the former prime minister to do something about it. And finally, to the chair of ODM, I'm also a member anyway, a life member of ODM. Party? Yes, a life member, you know what I mean, eh? I've been trying to get an opportunity in ODM, and I'm a life member, and all of you can see I can articulate issues. Am I right? I have never ever gotten an opportunity. And imagine I'm based in Nairobi. A number of people knows me here. I'm a new Wango. Alafu. I've never ever had an opportunity, Mr. Chair. You are here. I want to provoke you in front of these people. I'm Margaret, you have my names there. Give me a call. We do something.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have a lot, but thank you for today.
Chair, you have your life member here.
Yeah.
As you respond to this, can you please also address this Build Bridges initiative? Is it a double-edged sword? It has slowed down on corruption. We used to hear Raila Odinga reveal massive scandals day after days. Nowadays, he's quiet.
First of all, to my member, you're lucky the SG is here, so I think he's taking notes of that, and we'll see how exactly you want to be included in leadership. But let me address, I think largely the issues that have been raised cover two areas, and I want to attempt to address those two areas. Make no mistake, do not take it that I have the answers to your questions. I'm also a Kenyan like you. I'm only probably privileged to chair a party and be an MP in parliament for now 11 years going to 12 and maybe other things. But we are all Kenyans. We face all these things. These challenges face all of us. Now the issues that you have raised, one is the issue of inclusivity in this Building Bridges initiative. How inclusive it is and how sure are we that it is going to address our issues as a country. Issues that are of great concern to this country. Then number two, you have talked about corruption. Let me attempt to address the first one. I think to me the problem with Building Bridges initiative could have a lot to do with communication rather than inclusivity. I know, yes, that team of 14 does not have youth in it. So probably that is a mishap that should have been corrected. It has women, that's a plus, but it doesn't have the youth. But does it mean that without the youth, then youth issues cannot be addressed? Fine, that answers my question. If that is the case, isn't there any avenue right now that the team is already in place that the youth can still have their voices be heard? Like today, and that is why I talk about communication. Today, the team is at KICC. How many people know that that team is at KICC? So it has a lot to do with communication. If this team could, work more on how it communicates and how it engages. In fact, they should even go out of their way to invite specific groups of people, because we have organized groups in this country, the group of youth, the group of women, very many groups, the Law Society, to make special presentation. In fact, they can even suggest that if it is FIDA, could you come and address the issue of women, inclusivity of women in leadership, for example. If it is a group of Council of Governors, can you come and address the issues of the devolution, the challenges you are facing, etc. The youth, the same. The persons living with a disability, the same. In a nutshell, I think where we are failing as a country is on communication. We don't communicate, we do things without proper communication. Asking that before the two gentlemen shook hands, that they should have involved Kenyans, I tell you that would have led to the collapse of this handshake. If people like Mbadi got to know the full details and the possibility of a handshake, rest assured we would have sabotaged it. Because really, at one point, I was not even finding my bearing after this handshake, because I was used to hard tackle, serious politics. And you are taking me to politics where I don't know whether I should support the government and protect their and defend their policies. I would have refused. I would have told Raila, no, you can't. And I would use all the nice words. I would have not told him that I'm the one who is scared as a person. I would have told him, this is going to compromise your standing in the society. You have been fighting for democracy. How on earth would you find yourself on the same side with Uhuru Kenyatta? And it would have also happened the other side. So, in my view, the two leaders talking quietly, silently somewhere after the people of Kenya had asked them to do so, and coming to tell us that now we are working together, and this is the team we are setting in place to listen to the views of Kenya, was a plus, in my view. If we did it the other way around, you know, the dialogue of 2008 was in a totally different political environment. I know there was tensions in this country after last election, but you cannot compare it to the tension, the violence, the murders that we experienced in 2007. So at that time, there was a very serious push, even from the international community, that there must be dialogue. And dialogue had to be done in a structured manner where everybody was seeing. In fact, the first condition for the dialogue even to begin was to stop violence. That was the first condition. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are operating in slightly different environment. But I hear people again saying that we had a dialogue when we lapsed. Please remember that that dialogue brought the constitution we have today. And it also brought the peace that we experienced after 2013. Because after setting the judiciary, what we perceived to be a reformed judiciary, that is why as CORD then, we decided to go to court instead of going to the streets. The reason why we went to the streets in 2017 is because of, again, disappointment and frustration of the judiciary. That we felt judiciary did not treat us properly in 2013. And therefore, if we want peace in this country, something that we need to fix, the institution that needs to be fixed, the arm of government that needs to be fixed and fixed urgently, it is the judiciary. We have not fixed the judiciary. Let me tell you the truth. If you hear the talks, the discussions, the rumors, the gossips around what happens in the corridors of justice, there's a lot of injustice in the corridors of justice. But now let me talk about corruption. And I was asked specifically, are we fighting corruption? The truth is this, that the corruption had become a cancer in this country. It almost became our way of life. And it had reached unprecedented high. It reached a point where impunity was the order of the day. In fact, I think we had resigned that corruption is part of us. And largely, I would say we had started glorying corruption. And many of us still glory corruption. But the positive step that I think the handshake helped us realize is that it gave the president the courage. It gave the president the courage. I have a feeling that President Uhuru Kenyatta, from 2013, knew very well that DCI office needed changes to be made. That DPP office needed to be changed. The personnel. That something needed to be done even in EACC. That something needed to be done to demonstrate to Kenyans that corruption is bringing this country down. But he did not have that courage because there was that one big force, the other side, called the opposition. And then within your system, within your Jubilee party, you look around and you see people who probably are not very clean. So how do you make the step and the initiative to start fighting corruption, knowing very well that the targets are within your house, and the other house out there is also attacking your house? So the safest thing is to keep quiet about what is happening here in terms of corruption until such a time that you feel confident. Now, after 9th March, I think the president got some courage. What we need to do to the president, because corruption fights back. Therefore, what we need to do to the president is to encourage him and give him the confidence that what you are doing will not bring you down before the end of your term. That we will support you to the end. You know, this is the only country where, I think in the whole world, where investigation starts and the people who are involved in corruption have no even shame to come out openly to fight that fight. And so many of you cheer them in the social media. And from your names, you can just know where someone is coming from. I was looking at the comments from the debate I had the other day with Senator Murkomen. And I looked at the social media. From the names, you can just see. There are people who will never see anything wrong with what Mbadi said just because of their ethnicity. And there are people who will not see anything wrong, including defending corruption. Where on earth have you ever had a legislator defending procurement in a parastatal or a state corporation so strongly, and that state corporation has not even come out to deny that there is no corruption within it? It is only in Kenya. It is only in Kenya where you can spend 10 billion to ensure a loan of 60 billion. Simple facts. 11 billion paid as insurance premium for a loan of 60 billion. You ask yourself, and then someone sits there very courageously and tells you that there is no money lost. Even if it is lost, there is bank guarantee. Which bank would compensate for theft? That you have stolen the money, now we can pay it. I've never heard of any bank like that in the world. It is you who are seated here, who are talking a lot of academics, who encourage this. Through social media, you will see the tweets. People denying the obvious. How come in this country, for the first time, we are developing 22 dams at a go? 22 dams, and none is even 30% complete. At a nyumba yako, you can start 22 projects, and you take 5 years, ata moja haijaisha. Are you normal? Something must be wrong with you. Is there a value for money? So before you condemn leaders, before you tell us we are all corrupt, you should also know you are corrupt. Because you are supporting corruption through your Twitter handle, you are supporting corruption through your vote, and you are supporting corruption through attending meetings to encourage corruption. Then you point at my eyes. Mbadi ni wewe. Na wewe kwa nini you are supporting me? Because you are a Luo like me. So a Luo cannot steal. Who said so? And then you tell people, let me say this as I wind up, because this is a matter that I think is maybe close to my heart. You know, the reason why we can't pay debts in this country is because the money we borrowed went to people's pockets. They were never used to develop projects that would bring value to this country. You can now see why we cannot pay debts. You borrow money to finance dams that are not constructed. You borrow money to develop roads that don't exist. And then you expect that loan to be paid. How will it be paid? By asking you to pay more through taxation. And you should prepare to pay more tax in this country. If you are not going to change your way of life, choices have consequences. You will pay more tax. Please don't condemn me for pushing your VAT up. It will go up, you like it or not. Because you are not coming out strongly to condemn corruption. When I try to condemn corruption, people ask me questions that are irrelevant, that are silly. Encourage, even if yesterday I was stealing, and today I have seen the light, I have said stealing is bad. Even in church there is repentance. Kama mtu amerepent na amesema sasa kuiba ama uchawi ni baya, bado you insist, wewe si jana ama juzi ulikuwa mchawi. Please just accept, even if today, if yesterday you suspect that I stole some money, and today I am turned around and I'm saying, please, jameni, kuiba ni mbaya. The only thing you need to ask me, can you bring what you had already stolen also as we continue? Thank you very much. I took long because I actually...
Thank you.
But Luchivia, I'm leaving shortly.
Yes.
Would you allow me just to say something?
Yes.
About competition. I guarantee you I'll not take more than 2 minutes. Because competition was also part of what I was supposed
collaboration
to
and competition in democratic development.
We have talked a lot about collaboration, but how about competition? I think we need to realize that for any democracy to function, there must be competition. That you cannot, and competition must be structured. And competition can only be competition if the outcome of it results in fairness. If we vote, if we compete the two of us, I and Sifuna, for a position, and people vote, and the result of that vote counts, then that is competition. And that is how it can enhance and encourage democracy. But I see what we need to encourage in this country, and that is where the CMD comes in. We need to start fighting hard to encourage the culture of strengthening political parties. You cannot have political parties where people don't believe in anything about that political party. Political parties must start coming out with political ideologies, principles, policies, manifesto. But sometimes I see the moment Honorable Mingo Magara is elected on PDP ticket, he goes to parliament, and the next thing is fighting PDP. And when you try to correct that, Kenyans condemn you for being undemocratic. Where on earth have you ever seen a Democrat supporting Republican candidate, presidential candidate? That because we have come together to agree on some, maybe an issue like the border, the boundary between the US and Mexico, if they agree, that because there is that collaboration, it means now they move around with the Trump, Democrats, to say that come 2021, we will be behind Trump. And then when you start disciplining these people, the next thing you hear, this party is undemocratic. The next thing you hear, you are targeting women. I expect women to even be more humble than men, because men are known for their rogue behavior. Why don't you show it by example? If Dory can write a letter, ananyenyekea, aseme, I'm sorry, my party, I veered off. And the lady and her chest thumb, bring it on. So when we bring it on, what is the problem? You know, this kind of hypocrisy in this country. You know, you people don't know how much time and opportunity that we give to our members. Many times, we wrote letters, they came, spoke to us, we said, fine. The next thing you see, the next weekend, I don't want to say much, because this matter has gone to political parties' dispute to be known. But the bottom line is, how do you strengthen political parties? I know it is the next agenda. How do you strengthen political parties when people don't have discipline in those parties? If you don't want, by the way, Kenya is a multi-party democracy. If you don't believe in a political party, then the best thing to do, join the other one. It is only in Kenya, and that is my last one. It's only in Kenya where I've seen a member of one party going to court to protect a member of another party to remain in that party. I was asking Murkomen in the sidelines when we were with him in the debate, then Murkomen, why don't you tell this lady to come to Jubilee? Because you are a member of Jubilee. Why are you fighting for her to remain in ODM? Are you supporting, are you strengthening ODM? If ODM wants to remove a member of ODM, the best thing, if I was the one, if someone is leaving Jubilee, I would encourage him or her, come, wachana na hiyo chama. Kuja, tuende, Malindi, we will fight. Na hata pesa yote, kuna pesa, si unajua kuna pesa. Kuna pesa tutamwaga huko mpaka watu watakuchagua. But this is the only country where Murkomen, who is a member of Jubilee, insists that someone has remained in ODM. Thank you very much.
Asante sana, Mheshimiwa Mbadi, Minority Leader. This is the People Dialogue Festival, and we are looking at the issue of collaboration and competition in politics. I'll continue taking more questions, but first of all, the honor of car registration number KBC 414J, please attend to your car. The owner of the car registration number KBC 414, please attend to your car outside. Honorable Kimani Kuria, MP for Molo, your reaction, please.
Thank you. I'll start by picking up from where the leader of minority stopped at. And this is the issue of expulsion of a member because of supporting, because of supposedly supporting another presidential candidate. But my question to the ODM party is, who is your presidential candidate? And that honorable member stand on a different presidential candidate, does that go against the party ideology when the party has not declared who its presidential candidate is for the next election? And by what coincidence so is that this also happens to be a woman, and a very vocal woman for that matter. When it comes to both the issue of inclusivity in politics, how many presidential candidates do we have? the violence that we saw in the last election involved supporters of two different political functions, but those were only two people. Whereas the many of us followers were hand in arms following and supporting these two people that we fought against each other. Then when it came to the inclusion, 14 of members were picked, and none of them was a young person. And whereas we celebrate that there are 4 women in that team, that's only 22%, below the third threshold that is enshrined in our constitution. So from the onset, the constitution of this bridging bridges people is unconstitutional. And we ask, where are we supposed to present our views? Where are the views of the young people? My friend says that if you're not in the dining table, then you're part of the menu. And we are not on that dining table. So most probably, then we are part of the menu. But I'll tell you, as the president said the other day, that a time is coming for Kenyans for us to rise beyond these 2, 3, 4 individuals that are corrupting our country, that are pulling our country down. Yesterday, I watched in you as our airport shut down because the workers went on strike. But I love the speed in which that was averted. Our defense forces, our security forces were deployed at our airport so that we don't inconvenience our international guests and those people that can fly from one place to another. And then I remember the first strike we had in this country was in 1962 of the teachers. After that, we have more than 19 strikes of our teachers, downing their tools, not going to work, not going to teach our children. But who are the kids that go to those schools? They're the kids of the have-nots. Those are not able to pay the fees at private, or the ones that are paying the fees at those private schools that are so expensive. Our nurses have downed their tools several times. But who have suffered when they down their tools? It is that part of our population that can't afford to pay the fees at Nairobi Hospital or at the Aga Khan or at MP Shah Hospital. But have we deployed our security agencies to avert that? People have died. But now our airports are now working. But when we really stand up and say, even when our matatu strike, even when the services that affect the local mwananchi are affected, then we see the same reaction that we've seen from our government. And I'm speaking this as a member of parliament of the ruling party. But where there is an illegality, where there is an irregularity, I will stand up and say, because that's what democracy is about. Votes are more than mine. And I can support your cause and I can oppose you, and that does not make me a worse leader or does not make me defeated, because I still have people behind me. And only then will we have claimed to have achieved the true democracy of this country. On the issue of corruption, how much does it cost to run a presidential campaign?